Retiring abroad, why more and more Americans are packing their bags for a better life. According to recent statistics from the U.S. Social Security Administration, nearly 1 million Americans are now receiving their Social Security checks while living overseas. That number has almost doubled in the past decade. And these retirees aren't only in one or two spots. They're spread all over the globe, living in places like Mexico, Portugal, Panama, Thailand, and even Japan. This isn't just a quirky choice made by a handful of ultra-wealthy folks looking for a new adventure. No, it's becoming a growing movement, a trend that is accelerating year after year. More and more Americans are deciding that they simply cannot afford or do not want to spend their retirement years in the United States. So today, let's take some time to talk through the 3 biggest benefits of retiring overseas. And as we do, we'll confront some tough realities, explore why so many of our fellow Americans are making this leap, and maybe even give you a new perspective on what retirement could look like. 1. The harsh financial reality of retiring in the U.S. Let's begin with the most practical and unavoidable issue, the cost of retirement in America. In the world of personal finance, there's a rule that nearly every advisor and financial planner swears by, the famous 4% rule. Here's how it works. Once you retire, you should plan to withdraw no more than 4% of your total investments each year. If you follow this formula, in theory, your money should last for the rest of your life without running out. For decades, this rule has been the foundation of retirement planning in America. But here's the problem. That foundation is crumbling for many people. Let's do the math together. Suppose you'd like to retire with a modest, middle-class lifestyle, say about $50,000 a year for living expenses. Nothing extravagant. Just enough to pay the bills, eat well, take care of your health, and maybe enjoy some leisure. Under the 4% rule, you'd need a nest egg of about $1.25 million to make that happen. Now, let's compare this with the reality. According to a well-known survey conducted by Northwestern Mutual, the average American retirement savings is only about $88,400. That's it. So while the ideal is $1.25 million, the reality is less than $90,000. The gap is enormous. So enormous that it has left many middle-class Americans staring down an impossible future. They find themselves trapped in what I like to call a retirement triangle of impossibility. First corner, the skyrocketing cost of living. Groceries, rent, health insurance, medical care, utilities, gas, property taxes, prescription drugs, you name it, it's gone up. Inflation in the past few years has been relentless, eating into fixed incomes faster than seniors can adjust. Second corner, wages that haven't kept pace. For decades, the median income in the U.S. has barely budged, especially when compared with the rise in housing prices and medical costs. Even Social Security's annual cost of living adjustments are falling short of real inflation. Third corner, the painfully low level of retirement savings. Many workers, especially those who lived through the 2008 financial crisis, simply haven't been able to rebuild enough wealth to secure their future. When you put these 3 together, the conclusion becomes painfully clear. For an ordinary American relying on Social Security plus a small amount of savings, living a dignified retirement in the U.S. has become nearly impossible. Think about it. Social Security pays the average retiree somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a month. In most cities, rent alone swallows up $1,000 to $1,800 of that. That leaves little room for food, utilities, medications, or any kind of leisure. It's not that people don't want to stay in their hometowns. It's that many of them simply cannot afford to. And that's where retiring abroad comes in. At this point, it's not just an option. For many, it feels like a lifeboat. Imagine this. In Los Angeles, $2,000 a month might only get you a room in a shared apartment. You'd spend your days calculating expenses to the last penny. But in places like Thailand, Mexico, or the Philippines, $1,000 a month can cover rent for a modern apartment with air conditioning and 24-hour security, plus 3 meals a day at restaurants, and even part-time help for housekeeping. In the U.S., $2,000 a month buys you survival. Abroad, it can buy you a comfortable life. 2. access to affordable, high-quality healthcare. The second major reason many Americans are retiring abroad is healthcare. Let's be honest. Going to the doctor in the United States is expensive, stressful, and often frustrating. Appointments take weeks to secure. Bills run into the thousands. Even with Medicare or private insurance, out-of-pocket costs can be crushing. Prescription drugs are often several times more expensive here than in other countries. A study published in the American Journal of Public Health revealed that over 60% of U.S. personal bankruptcies are linked to medical bills. Imagine working hard your whole life, saving diligently, thinking you've finally reached the summit of the mountain, only to find a giant sinkhole of medical expenses waiting at the top, ready to swallow your savings. That's the reality for far too many retirees. 15 high-ranking YouTube tags. Now, many Americans assume that leaving the U.S. means settling for second-class healthcare. But here's the surprising truth. According to the World Health Organization's global rankings, the U.S. doesn't even make the top spots for healthcare systems overall. Yes, America excels in cutting-edge technology and high-end specialists, but when it comes to affordability, fairness, and population health, the U.S. ranks near the bottom among developed nations. Meanwhile, countries like Mexico, Thailand, Malaysia, Portugal, and even Panama offer world-class hospitals, many with English-speaking doctors trained in the U.S. or Europe. And the cost? Often just a quarter of what you'd pay in America. For example, in Mexico or Thailand, a routine doctor's visit might cost $30, $50 out of pocket. A full set of dental crowns that might cost $12,000 in the U.S. can often be done for $2,500 abroad. Private hospitals in places like Singapore or Kuala Lumpur boast the same technology and facilities you'd expect in the States, but at a fraction of the price. So when retirees choose to live overseas, they're not sacrificing health. They're often gaining access to excellent care without bankrupting themselves. 3. Retiree-friendly visas and the ease of moving money. Now, let's tackle the two practical questions most people immediately ask. Can I really receive my Social Security and retirement funds while living abroad? And how can I legally stay in another country long-term? The good news is, both of these obstacles are far smaller than you might think. First, the money. Many Americans wrongly assume that once they leave the U.S., their Social Security benefits will somehow stop. Not true. The Social Security Administration has a well-established system for paying retirees overseas. Unless you're living in one of the very few restricted countries like Cuba or North Korea, your monthly Social Security check can be deposited directly into a foreign bank account. The same goes for your 401k or IRA withdrawals. With modern international banking, transferring your funds is straightforward. So money flow is not the barrier many people fear. Second, visas. Here's where things get exciting. Far from shutting the door, many countries actually roll out the red carpet for retirees.
Why?
Because retirees aren't competing for jobs. They're bringing in steady income from abroad and spending it locally. Governments see them as ideal residents. That's why so many nations now offer special retirement visas. For example, Portugal's D7 visa requires no big investment or property purchase, just proof of stable passive income like Social Security. Often $1,000 a month is enough to qualify. In return, you get residency and the freedom to travel throughout the EU. Thailand's retirement visa is open to anyone over 50. With about $24,000 in savings deposited in a Thai bank or proof of monthly income, you qualify. And given Thailand's low cost of living, it's one of the most popular retirement havens in the world. Mexico makes it simple with temporary and permanent residency visas. Many Americans qualify with nothing more than proof of Social Security income. And as a bonus, Mexico is just a short flight from home. Panama's Pensionado program is often called the world's most generous retirement visa. All you need is proof of $1,000 in lifetime pension income per month. On top of that, you get discounts on everything from movie tickets to airline fares. Clearly, the doors are wide open. If you can support yourself, you are welcome. But what about family? Now, all of this sounds wonderful. Lower costs, better healthcare, easy visas. But let's be honest, there's still one emotional barrier that weighs heavier than all the others. Family. What if I don't speak the language? What if I get sick in a country where I don't know anyone? Most importantly, my children and grandchildren are in the US. If I move away, what happens to them? Will I lose that bond? These questions cut straight to the heart. For many older Americans, especially those of us who value family deeply, this is the biggest hurdle of all. But here's the thing. Distance in today's world doesn't mean what it used to. Technology, affordable travel, and global communities are changing the equation. First, loneliness. Many retirees fear feeling isolated abroad. But remember, you're not blazing a trail into the wilderness. Most popular retirement destinations already have large, welcoming expat communities. On Facebook or WhatsApp, you can find entire groups of Americans sharing tips, meeting for coffee, organizing outings, and supporting each other. Second, language. Thanks to smartphones, translation apps can handle conversations in real time. Ordering food, asking for directions, paying bills, all manageable with the tap of a button. Third, family connections. Here's a mindset shift that many retirees abroad have embraced. Trade low-quality closeness for high-quality visits. Think about it. Many of us already live states apart from our children. If you're in Florida and your daughter is in Oregon, how often do you really see her? Maybe once or twice a year. Now imagine instead that you live in Portugal or Mexico. Your kids come not just to visit mom or dad, but also to enjoy a vacation. You spend that week exploring, eating great food, and making memories together. The time might be shorter, but the quality is far greater. Plus, with the savings from living abroad, you might now have the flexibility to fly back to the US for graduations, weddings, or birthdays. You could even afford to bring your grandkids overseas to spend summers with you. And, of course, daily video calls make it possible to stay connected in ways our parents could never imagine. So instead of losing family, many retirees discover that they are actually able to create richer, more intentional moments of togetherness. A new chapter, not an ending. Retiring abroad isn't for everyone. It requires an open mind, a willingness to embrace something new, and a little courage. But it also offers something incredibly valuable, a chance to reimagine retirement. It's not the end of life's journey. It's the start of a whole new chapter. For some, retirement in the US means stress, sacrifice, and scraping by. For others who take the leap abroad, it means freedom, dignity, and even adventure. So maybe, just maybe, the real question isn't, can I afford to retire overseas? The real question is, can I afford not to? Thumbs up if this sparked new thoughts for you. Give it a like, bell, and subscribe for more insights on rethinking retirement, lifestyle, and financial freedom. Because the end of work doesn't have to mean the end of living. It can be the beginning of something even better.